Hello, so tonight we're taking a look at the Grumman Goose from Big Radials in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's been out for a very long time, but it's on offer in the marketplace at the moment, so I thought we'd take a really good look at it and take it for a fly, because it's actually really good. It's probably one of the best modelled aircraft in the game, and if you've never seen it before, it really is worth taking a look at. I mean, you can see straight away the quality of the material modelling, and the three-dimensional model is absolutely fantastic. As I said, it's probably one of the best in the entire game, and the sound is spectacular as well. So if we go and jump inside and have a look around inside, it's very good inside as well. It's of its era, it's very basic, but there are some hidden surprises inside it, so we'll go and have a look at that. You can see you've got lights down here, you've got a few instruments you'll recognise, so you've got altimeter, airspeed, turn coordinator, and you'll see the reason for that. The plane wanders around in flight. It doesn't go in a straight line, and it's probably one of the more accurate aircraft in the sim for that. So you really do need rudder and stick skills to keep it in a straight line. You've got a compass here with your course marker for it, so you can stay on course. You've got the clock, you've got a gyro compass and a Sperry autopilot. I think it's a Sperry. Should we have a look? Type A3A, aircraft automatic pilot. I'm not sure what make it is, but it works in a similar manner to a Sperry anyway. What else have we got? So we've got obviously the engine gauges up here, and you've got some temperatures. We'll look at those as we start the aircraft up. We've got the throttle levers, the mixture levers, the propeller levers are overhead, carb heat is there, and there's an awful lot of switches behind us. So let's go through and actually no, before we start the aircraft up, let's have a wander around. So everything works. So doors work, light switches work. It's just really nicely modelled. You know, it's really interactive. So the outside doors work. And you can open the door for the interior as well. That obviously works really nicely. Got a toilet in there as well as some stowage. So if we go and look up at the front, this aircraft, it's worth pointing out, was used for navigation training. I'm guessing for the crews in the Second World War that went on to fly things like Sunderlands and Catalinas. So yeah, it was used for that purpose. There were later models that had all sorts of electric stuff inside, where it got kind of used as a water taxi, I think, for wealthy businessmen in New York and places like that. But its original purpose, or its original sale purpose, was to several of the air forces, and they used them as navigation trainers. Anyway, let's go and get it started up, shall we? So let's go and close that door to begin with. Notice they've even got fogging in the glass. It's very good. So, batteries on, generators on, fuel selector to both, and then behind us the cut-off valves for the engines to on, also for the fuel to on to each side, and then we use the wobble pump here, just give it 2 or 3 pumps, and what that does is, if we can see overhead, it increases the fuel pressure. Yeah, and you need to have it between anywhere from 3 up to 6 will be fine to start the engines. And notice it will hold on, but that will very gradually abate off. You can see the needles just very slowly moving there, but we've got plenty of time, don't worry. Okay, so let's get back to our normal view position so we get good sight of everything. Right, we need to prime the engines, so we move the throttles backwards and forwards 3 or 4 times. Should be enough. Then we set the magnetos. The ignition plunger has to be in, and it already is. We set the magnetos to both. You can do one engine at a time. You can always also get away with starting both at the same time. So then we crack the throttle open. And we hold I'll get the engine in sight so we can see it. We hold the right motor in. And after it's been spinning for a couple of turns, it will suddenly speed up. And at that point, You can see it spinning. At that point we can... It's not going to work. I've not got here quickly enough. Yep. That's because my view wasn't in the right place. It's so... You have to be so careful with this. So let's give it another pump behind us. Because my view was not in the right place. I wasn't in the right place at the right time. So we spin it up again. So it's spinning, and we introduce the fuel, and there we go. That's why the view is critical when you do this. So you have to be able to see the button, the mixture lever, and the engine. So wait for it to start spinning. And there it goes. Mixture lever. And we've got an engine. Hurrah! Okay, so we now sit and play a waiting game. Because we're waiting for the temperature of the oil to come up both sides. Obviously the right side's hotter already. Once it gets past about 40, you can start thinking about doing anything with the engine, but until it gets to there, don't, basically. Okay, while we're waiting for the engines to warm up, let's just have a little look around. So we'll go and put some lights on around the aircraft. We'll also go and open some of these doors and have a look around. So if we go and scoot around outside, we can go through the walls, the viewer is allowed to move. We can open some of these panels, and we've got a really nice extras here, like there's an anchor, and you can open this access door. You can actually climb through there if you can control the view well enough. It's very, very clever, and everything has a sound as well. It's just nice the way they've done everything. Okay, so if we go back inside, the windows work. So you pull the pin out in the corner of the window, you can slide it back, and it affects the engine sound, which is awesome. Same is true for the co-pilot side. Yeah, it's just really, really nicely done. You'll see all of the breakers work as well. So hidden down here in the floor, though, is something rather special. Because you'll notice this is all a bit kind of, well, it's of its era. Hidden in the floor is a modern transponder and GPS. Now you will notice at the moment the GPS is a little bit broken. So I imagine there's an update in the offing to fix that. They obviously haven't fixed it yet. But that's obviously following the recent sim updates. It's messed up the appearance of the GPS. But we're not going to use the GPS anyway, so we'll put that away. We'll close the lid, and we won't worry too much about it. Okay, engines will be warmed up by now, so we will go overhead and move the propeller RPM. And I think it might be nice just to sit on idle outside, put the parking brake on, and then slowly increase the engine speed so you get to hear it. Going to check the volume. So I've just pulled the throttles back to idle again. Notice how long it takes the propellers to spin down. Okay, so we're coming off the parking brake, we're moving the flaps to takeoff position, and we're going to taxi out to the runway. We're at Lampson Field, by the way, and the reason we are here is there is a lake just across the way where you can see the hills in the distance. The lake is between us and the hills, so we can take off and go and do a water landing, which is obviously the party piece of the Grumman Goose. So as I mentioned earlier, this plane does move around. You can see it wallowing a little bit on the wheels, but that's only half the story. As soon as you get in the air, it's probably one of the most accurately modelled aircraft, full stop, in terms of it moving around. It reminds me very much of the warbirds in DCS, where you have to keep them pointing the same direction they're going. This has a tendency to do that, to not to swap ends, but to wander, I think is the way to put it. Which is why I'm guessing the turn coordinator is so central, because the designers knew that it tended to do that. So certainly on the takeoff roll you will see we will have to control the aircraft. It won't want to take off in a nice smooth line, let's put it that way. We've got a bit of a crosswind today and quite a fierce headwind, so that's obviously going to help us. There are techniques described in the documentation to do a shorter takeoff, where you lift them, or you lower the nose on purpose, which then gives you some rotation momentum. You need to be careful as well with turning. I nearly came a cropper there where I turned the tail wheel too much. So you can almost turn the tail wheel into a brake if you're not careful. Where you turn it too much, obviously, and it kind of, you get a gimbal lock happen. Okay, just going to sit up in a straight line. Let's get the look at that windsock. It is quite windy, isn't it? We have to keep that in mind with when we land on the lake. We'll use the airfield as a reference. So full throttle. Giving a lot of rudder to keep it straight, and it's trying to take off. The right wing's gone before the left, and we're up. So you can see what I mean about it moving around. So we'll get gear up and we'll look outside to see that happening. You can see it wandering around. I'm having to actually put stick inputs in the whole time. Okay, so flaps up. The throttles can come back to 75%. We'll move the mixture to match them, and we will pull the propellers back a similar amount. We don't need to go hammering the propellers the whole time. As you can see, it's quite happily settling now about 110 knots. It will go faster than that. It will pick up speed. So we're climbing just under 1,000 feet a minute. And there's the lake over there. So let's go and turn, and we'll have a little look at the autopilot as well once we get pointed out towards the lake. I'm just releasing the elevator pressure, and the ticking you can hear is the elevator trim. There we go. Sit down underneath so we can see under the wing. So flying out towards the lake. So we are going to have to go this direction to land, to go into the wind, based on what we saw on the runway. There is a landing stage down here in this little bay, so we might try and land coming in towards it. We fly overhead, or it might be this side, I'm not quite sure, we'll have a look. But what a gorgeous aeroplane, eh? But you can see what I mean about it moving around all the time. Right, so how do we operate this then? So it's actually quite straightforward. I'm just going to calibrate the altimeter, which I hadn't done, and what you can do is align this with the direction you want to be going, so the direction you are going. So you get the airplane going the direction you're already going, then you turn this on and you put heading hold mode on, and it will keep us going that same direction, so we don't have to worry about the wind kicking us around. If we want to then climb or descend, we can use the elevator trimmer over here to make that happen. So just by turning it a little bit, look, I've been able to zero out our climb rate. One more click. Maybe one more. Obviously we're increasing in speed, so you have to be aware this is not a vertical speed control. This is an elevator trim control. There we go. So thankfully it's quite a calm day. But the gyro pilot will keep basically the wings level and the heading going the direction you want it to, and keep the climb rate, or sorry, the pitch of the aircraft at the amount you wanted it. What an amazing aeroplane though, hey? Obviously you have to use ready reckoning for your, or dead reckoning as some people call it, for your navigation in this aeroplane, so you'll be calculating speeds and distances and doing VFR, which is what the original pilots would have done. There were later versions of this that had electronic kit in it for water taxis, but yeah, this particular model was used for pilot training for the pilots that went on to fly Sunderlands and Catalinas, things like that. I'm not sure if I mentioned that earlier or not. Okay, so yeah, you'll see what I mean. If we try and spin this round using the gyro pilot, it's very slow. Yeah, it's really about keeping it on a heading, not following the heading. You can play games with the rudder to make it turn. So it will, you just basically input some rudder, but it's very, very basic. You're better off switching it off and then engaging it when you want it. Anyway, should we come back in and see about landing? It's worth pointing out, in terms of the flight model, I said it was accurate. The amount of rudder authority you have is actually quite stunning. Obviously it's a big old heavy plane, but look, we can get into a lot of trouble with this plane really quickly. So I'm not going to stall it on purpose. We can maybe do a straight line stall just to illustrate it, but I'm not going to go and try and tumble it, because there's every chance we won't be able to get out of it. So let's go for a stall in a straight line. So you can see the airspeed falling off. Let's pull the nose up and see what happens. Keep it fairly level for as much as we can. And it's dropped a wing. So immediately trying to dive. I had to give maximum aileron in the opposite direction to get it back. So you got an I don't know if you noticed, there was an audible cue that we were getting towards a stall. You could hear the air becoming turbulent over the wings. So we're going to fly back in towards this inlet. If we have a look on little nav map, you might be able to see it. We took off, it's over here, sorry. So it's on that far bank over there. Which way is the wind? That's perfect for us, actually. Presuming it's over here somewhere, or maybe it's here. It's here. So to help us slow down, we're going to extend the flaps as we slow down. and we'll just gently come in over the water. So we've got the flaps down now. What a gorgeous aeroplane. Just going to dip it into the water there. We'll put it into the water when we get a bit closer, don't worry. Oh, the sim has frozen. How typical is that? It will release. Give it a few seconds. This is the age-old problem with this machine for some reason. There's a bug in Flight Simulator. You've seen it on some of my other videos if you've seen it in the past. Now and again it happens. There we go, it's released. So we can pull the flaps up and taxi in. Or water taxi in, I should say. How cool is that though? How well modelled is it? Very cool. So, should we go and try out some of those other things with it then? So if we go and open this up, pull this out. So we want to put the anchor on, please. So we've now got this floating in, which is cool. Obviously it's just a 3D asset, it doesn't stop us moving, which is a shame. But you get some idea. Just out of interest, let's go and have a look in the controls of Flight Simulator and have a look in the keyboard mappings. So I can't remember off the top of my head what the water rudder is. Control and W. Go back, resume. So if we press Control and W, has it got water rudders? I don't think it has. So it's just going to gently... Obviously this sort of plane wouldn't have come up to the pier normally. It would have been anchored out and you would have rowed out to it. But obviously it has this trick where even if we come aground, we can now winch ourselves into the air. Which not a lot of planes can do that. How cool is that? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. We'll put that back away. And we'll go and shut the engines down for the moment. It's very cool, isn't it? But like I said, it's on offer at the moment in the marketplace, so it's a bit of a steal really. And for such a really nicely modelled aeroplane, if you like this sort of plane that, you know, doesn't have all of the modern gadgets and it requires stick and rudder skills to fly, it's great fun. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I'll see you soon. Take care.